Alright, so we're ready to get coding. We're going to go ahead and set up our first index.html file that we created in the last video. And we're going to start this off by simply declaring a declaration, which is the document type. And what this does is it lets the browser know that it's going to be processing HTML. Now, when we go to set up our page, we need to show the browser what is HTML. So we'll go ahead and we'll create our opening HTML tags. And what our opening and closing, if you saw it, created a closing one right there for us. What that does for us is it lets the browser know that anything in between here should be processed as HTML. The cool part about that is we can go ahead and we can do something called an HTML comment. And so throughout this project, we'll be commenting on our code so that we understand and know what different parts are doing. And this, of course, is just saying it's the beginning of the HTML the browser will process. So anything in between there is what the browser is going to process. What we can do while we're working on this is we can go ahead and we can open up our live preview. I clicked on the live preview button. And if you're on Windows and Mac, you can do the same. But if you're on Windows, we can come over here and we can tell that to take that, and we can tell our code to come up over here. And I'm going to go ahead and close this up just a little bit more so that we can see our code as it unravels. And we'll actually bump this over just a little bit to give us a little more space. So at this point, we have our HTML. And what we need to do is we need to go ahead and set up two major sections of our HTML. And that first section will be the head. And the head is just going to be where we put information for the browser. And while we're writing code, we want it to be clean. So we're using indentation. We'll do nice spacing, things like that. And then we'll tab in here and we'll go ahead and we'll put the body. And of course the body, as we've learned, is where the code that we want to be displayed on the page, the majority of that code will be displayed in there. So at this point now we can see the body takes that up. The head really doesn't show anything because it's just the information in the page. As we're trying to do with our commenting, we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep commenting good. And so right above the head tag, we're going to put a comment in there and just say it's information used by the browser. So we'll understand that as we move along more and more, but right, that's information we want to pass to the browser. Then we're going to come down here to the body tag and we're going to put a comment up there, and just to remind ourselves that this is content that gets displayed in the browser window. As we're moving along, we want to make sure that the browser knows what it's going to, what language set, basically what kind of translation map it's going to be using for the characters. And so the way that we do that is we're going to tell it a character set of UTF-8, which is pretty much the standard. Now we're going to take the title. And we're going to put the title tag up here, and this will be your name, of course, that you put in here. But what you can see is the minute that we put the title tag up, it told the browser that that's the information that we want here in the top tab. And so, of course, like we discussed with the HTML, with the head tags, it's about information for the browser. Now, to remind ourselves of this, we're going to go ahead and we are going to put a little comment in here as well. And our comment in here is going to just remind us that, hey, this is the information that we store inside the head that we pass to the browser, and search engines will use this title tag as well. And we're going to just let it take that on. The next thing we want to do is we want to put one more thing in the head in this lesson, and it's another vital piece to HTML, to SEO, and it's what lets us know that it's lets the search engines, gives them an idea of what they're looking at, the information in the page, and that's called our meta tag with a description. And we put our content in there, and we'll just go ahead and put in there that it's inside out right, our project and give it some information so that the search engines are able to read and understand what it is our page is about. I'm just going to clean this up as I go, and we can see now that our head has taken some shape, and we are at this point pretty good to go with our head. You can often, check and make sure that things look good by clicking on them, and you'll see you'll get opening and closing tags. And one of the things that we can do to make working inside our document easier is we can come over here to this little caret, and we can click that, and it actually closes our head up for us. It's still there. We open and close it. It just gives us a chance to work in our code without competing with scrolling and things like that. The next thing that we want to put in here is we're learning about semantic HTML is the header, which is the top of our document that gives our document that place that we put our links eventually, stuff like that. And for now, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and inside here we'll put our H1, which we know we're only allowed to have one of. And we'll just put it inside out, and you can see it's starting to populate over here. Then we'll come down and we'll actually put in basically a tagline. And the way we do that tagline is we could use a paragraph, we could use all different things. But for now, I think what we're going to do is just go ahead and put an H2 in there, and then put our tagline in continuously falling forward into the light. Yay. Exciting crap. The next thing that we want to do, since we're using HTML5 and we have the opportunity to semantically lay out our site, we're going to go ahead and for now declare a section in here. And what we're basically telling that is that this is, because there's no other sections or anything, this is really our primary section. And in this section is where most of our content will go. And what we can do is, for now, let's just put a paragraph in there. And let's put some content in there just so we have something to judge it by. Moving on from the section, let's go to our footer. Our footer is that part of the page that always shows up on the bottom of a website, and we've talked about this in lessons. And what we want to do in the footer essentially is, capture additional information people might be looking for. So we're going to use an H4 for now in the footer, and we're just going to say this is the footer, and then we're going to come down and we're just going to put a little more information in there. So I think we'll just put a paragraph tag and say we place redundant here. And that essentially what that does is that lets us see that we have this footer. And if you look, when I'm in the preview, when I click on the different parts of the page, it'll highlight the tags that the elements are created from so that we can actually start to see what's going on in there. Last thing I think we want to do for this lesson is we want the footer and the header. Usually it's nice to differentiate it from the rest of the page. And for now, what we're going to do with our header and footer is we're going to say style, and this is called an inline style as we learn about CSS. And we're going to put a background color of gray. We'll just keep it real simple. And you can see that our header flipped over. While I'm doing that, checking that out, I'll highlight that what I just put in the header, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to place it into the footer. And so at this point, what we can see is that we have a nicely coded site. You clean it up a little, make sure your spacing, indentation looks good. Clean code is great code. And we can see that all of our information that we've put in here, if we save it, is displaying over here, and we're able to check everything out. And so that completes this step of the HTML project, and we'll move on to the next video to push our work to the server.